Alright, so this is the Lijiang Tower tank god. So you're gonna spawn, you're gonna come this way, right? I think everybody does. Check if your team has a sim, right? If they have a sim, you're gonna play right here, and then you jump through right here, right? That's the window the sims go through. And then you go into that, and let's say you do sim TP, you're gonna be on point. And even if they don't or do have a sim, right? Let's just say they don't. So if they don't, and you're on point first, Grayson, go back to the door over there.
Okay.
So you're gonna be on point first, right? You play this wall right here, right? That way it's hard for them to get in, and you're also not taking damage from multiple angles, because lower elo players will play like around here and like, you know, oh, let me poke you, right? Versus just being up here. Try not to shoot me as much, because I don't want to get a med pack, but generally you play around this way, right? And that way you could just fall behind this while your supports heal you, okay? And then you have the ability to just take space here, and then when you get low, you could just fall back into this corner. So let's say we don't have a sim. Alright, so we're gonna do the thing we're doing in the last cut, right? If you're both teams right here, let's just say they don't have a Bastion, right? Or you don't get shredded by their team. You could probably go right to point like this while fighting them, you know, and that way you and them could even fight on point. But that way it's a lot stronger and your team gets to move. Now, don't go too fast. You know, you want to make sure your team is able to also get in, right? So if you're gonna walk this way, maybe try and shove them a little bit, right? And then your team could fall in. But that's gonna depend. It's a little harder. Right. So then you get on point, you fight them. The servers might close down, which will suck. Let's hope not. So anyway, you do that, and then once you cap point, and let's say we wipe Grayson's team, right? So Grayson go over to like those steps there, right? What I tend to do, especially if I'm more of a brawl tank and not like Sigma, is I'll push up right here. This is where most people should push up to, because I could poke you out of your spawn, right? I could shove you back in it. You know, I could punch you with Ramatra. I could, you know, get charged. And then as they push through, if they are like beaming you and melting you again, right, or you want to fall back, you could fall back to like around here, and right here is really strong, right? And let's just say they don't have a sim again, so, right? So they're not gonna TP through, and you just fight them right around here. And then if they do have a sim, you want to make sure you're playing on this point, because they're just gonna TP through, and then you're kind of screwed outside, right? So stuff like that is very important to take note of. Or, you know, you could do that, or if you're up at this position right here and they're still running the sim, you could shove into them as soon as they're about to get the TP down, and then fight them so they can't get through that TP, right? That's gonna be, what is this, garden? Right.
No, this is night market.
Okay, night market. This is the night market section. So then we'll go over to, let me swap the maps. Modes control for a second. Alright. It's not this. This is night market? Am I tripping?
You just changed it to night market again.
Did I? Okay. Or did I start the game mode? I did.
Nice. Big. Yeah.
Now arriving
Big moderator guy.
Yeah, huge. Alright, this is garden.
Yep.
So again, this is a huge sim map. If you're playing competitively with a team of 5, you almost always want to run a sim here, at least to start, right? Because if you're a tank, or even, you know, you're just with your team, you go through that window, like always. And then let's say you go through that window, right? Hi, Grayson.
Hello.
So you go through that window, and if they don't have a sim, you know, you could you want to push up here because it takes a little bit for the point to spawn, right? And that way they have to run up here. Hopefully, like, let's just say you have a sim Lucio, you should have enough time by the time he's here on these steps, right? I could go like that, and then it's harder for them to get here, and then one support can plant point and cap it when it gets up, right? If they do have a sim, so go to that window maybe, Grayson, right? Yep. Like through it. If they have a sim and you both drop at the same time, it's a battle of who sets up first mainly on the sim. But depending on their team comp, it's hard for a tank to run into a Symmetra because she will melt you if you don't kill her fast enough, right? So if you're not confident that your team or you are going to be able to kill her fast enough, maybe try and stay away from her for a little bit, and not let her get that beam charge. But, you know, you could push up around here, it's mainly a huge fight right here if there's 2 sims, right? So let's say you cap point, so go back to the stairs. Again, you'd play right here, right? And that way you could see where they're coming from. So then another thing is when they spawn, if you're Roadhog, for example, you could play right at this corner and just hook people off, right? Like that. So that's a huge thing. So depending on what character you play, right? Even Queen could kind of do that. So let's say I was where Grayson was. Let me go Queen. I'll show you. So if I'm around where Grayson was, and they have a hog, I've done this a couple of times. The hog players, right? Like he's playing. Yeah, go right there, right? He's right there. I hit him with the hook, and then guess what? That's tough for him, right? So again, as a tank, you need to take notice on these maps of what they're running. That is a major thing to know, right? Like who could boop you, right? So Lucio, if they have a Lucio right here, is terrible, right? Pushing up this way, you know, as in coming back to point is abysmal, right? Because you just get booped and there you go down the map. So unless you are confident that you're not going to get booped here by any other team, you know, they have a Risa spin maybe, they have a Lucio, just don't do it, right? So if they have that, you're going to run all the way over here. And you wanna make sure, especially if you're in solo queue like duos, right? You call out this to your team, or even just spam the group up with me if you don't want to use mic. And you go through this way. Now right here is hard to also push, right? Because you can just play on the sides of these walls, right? So that's really tough sometimes. So Grayson, play on this side because that's probably where you should stand. Depending on what side you're on, you should. It depends. But generally where your team is at behind you, you want to play on either wall as a tank, right? So right here, you're gonna have to poke. Right. So that you know, it's rough, but you kind of want to get through here. Again, if they have a Lucio or a hog, you know, maybe the hog's standing right here and he just throws you right off the map, right? So that's pretty upsetting. But if you're gonna go here to get past this point, right, you want to go fast and probably go right into point. Potentially, because playing on these sides, depending on their comp, is really bad sometimes. So let's say as you get in Grayson, you want to stand like right around here, right? So as the defender tank on this point, right there is really strong, but as a tank defending, you kind of don't want to let them get through here, right? So like Grayson should be up here, you know, bullying me, because this whole team's on point. Unless there's a bastion, then he could just go around this corner and, you know, kind of hide. But, you know, as he goes around, he could go like this. You know, he's hog, so you could heal, or, you know, most tanks have something defensive, so they can get away a little bit, right? So if he goes back there, it's again a little more rough. You have to hope kind of your damage, go get the support that might be playing back there now, right? But, you know, tank v tank, it happens depending on the tank, right? Like, so Queen and Hog will fight each other a lot, generally. But, like, if it's an Orisa, I don't really touch you that much. Right, so if let's say he's Orisa, I'll go around and try and kill a Squishy as Queen or another character, right? Because there's no point to just have them get healed over and over. So that it really depends on what's going on. You know, it's hard to do a thing for Doomfist, but like if you're a Doomfist player, you could just punch him off the map here. If you cancel your jump over there and shove him off the map. So, you know, playing into what your character does. Another like cheeky thing, if you're Zarya, if you throw a grab right here, and they're on the steps, it'll actually pick them up and they'll get flown right into here when the grab ends. So that's a really annoying one to do to people. It might take you, you know, you might throw with it if you try it 1 or 2 times, but if you do get the hang of it, that's really strong. And then we'll go to the last map. Control, third point. This is the inside one. This one, the inside is a lot more brawl focused, versus like on that last map you could run Winston potentially. You know, there's a lot more options of what you could run in the other two, but generally this one is more brawl. Like you can run Diva, you can run Winston, you could run any tank on any map. There's just ones that are clearly stronger on certain maps. I enjoy, you know, the tanks I play, so it's really biased, but I like Queen, Zarya, and Ram on this point. You know, Risa's literally the best tank in the game, so it doesn't, you know, everybody likes her on every map because she's stupid. Right, so as you attack, there's 2 ways to do it, right? So if I'm running Queen and he's running like a Reiner or a Risa, you know, you won't be able to see it, but you might be able to hear their footsteps. you kind of don't want to play up here then, right? Or even if they have a Junkrat, because you're just going to get spammed out of here and die really bad. You know, especially if you're not a shield tank or like a diva. This way is terrible, right? So this way is who you think is going to have the better brawl, okay? That's the only way I'd say go up here to start. You know, you could do it to start, but you want to be able to, like, judge really fast if that is the way you should go, or if you should get out of there, right? So let's say we brawl and we get out this way, right? You should probably, you know, somebody goes here and caps. Let's say you have Lucio. Lucio can cap here. Your team should push up all the way to around this wall, especially if you're like a Rhine, you know, a Ramatra, right? Because this is the tiniest door, right? Let's say you have a Junkrat too. How do you get through this, right? Let's just say you're, you know, let's just pretend you're a Reese Grayson, right? Try and walk up, right? You know, he doesn't get past me, especially if my team is spamming, and then you have this corner to run away from. The only issue is, like, if they have a hog, you know, maybe you get hooked and cucked, but, you know, that happens. So, like, this spot is generally really strong. By the time they get to point, you should be able to get past that doorway that you were just holding. Potentially, right? Unless they also push up with one person at point, which they probably should do as well, right? So let's say you're on point, Grayson. You want to play up here, maybe? Where'd you go? You're over there. Okay.
Yeah.
So if they're on this side, the way I generally like to hit this point, depending on where they're playing, right? Because if they're on point here, you have two options. You could go up this way, depending on if they're running, you know, what they're running. Like if they don't have a lot of spam or a lot of like tight corridor characters, you could go up that way, you know, and poke them out a lot. Or you could fight down here, you know, hopefully get a pick. But it's really hard to get through like this basically no man's land, this section right here. So it's gonna depend, like, let's say you get a pull here, you know, you get a kill, then you could rush in. Now again, it's hard to go right where like you don't want to push straight into point like this unless you know you're gonna live. You know, like if you really think your supports are gonna keep you alive, or your Roadhog, right? Somebody that is a shield. It just depends on what's going on in the game. So another thing you could do is go right here and go around here, right? And that cuts off a lot of the angle that Grayson would be playing at here. You know, or you can push him back. The main thing on control though is fast clearing of the enemy team. Because if you can't kill them fast enough, the time will drain and it'll be very bad for you. If you are a damage, I know this is a tank guy, but if you're damaged, right, like let's say you're Bastion, you could play up there with Grayson's TP, and there's a Mega actually behind there, right, so that's something to pay attention to. You could even call that out for your damage, right? As a tank, you control the momentum and the pace of the game. Like thing is Sigma, how he talks about the melody, that's kind of what tank is like, is knowing the music you're playing and your team is playing. And then another way on attack, right, or actually defending a point, like if you haven't, if they're gonna run down this way, you could just hold right here too, right? Because this is also abysmal to go through. That's the worst part about controls. If you lose the point, it's very tough to get it back. So you might need some ults. It just really depends on what's going on in the game. But just knowing the other ways you could go is very big. If you're a Wrecking Ball, let me die. So I could show that. Quick. On a lot of these maps, like I could do character-specific guides for a lot of these maps too. But those would be a lot of, you know, if you're just playing this character, what they're good at on that point, right? But if you're running a Winston, a Wrecking Ball, a Diva, like if you're running a full dive team, you know, you could go through this way, or like even a Reaper could go through this way, like TP over here and get some poke out. But you guys could also, again, it depends too if they have a Lucio, because, you know, if you get pushed off, it's really terrible, right? But, you know, you guys could go around this way. You know, as a dive tank, you could go up there. There's a lot of things you could do. You just need to know how to play those roles correctly. These maps are also terrible, but not as terrible as Parisa, so it's a huge plus. Push maps are also pretty terrible. There's some exceptions, right? But generally these maps, any of the not so great maps are similar to control maps. Where like they very much want you to be able to swap and do stuff on the fly and think about what's going on in the game. And that's the hard part. So that's the Lijiang Tower. Positioning got relatively.